All right, so today, April 13th, HSBC just announced it completed the first tokenized deposit pilot for its corporate banking book on a public blockchain. Not a private permissioned bank chain, a public regulated network called Canton. And here's the part the mainstream press completely missed. The same network HSBC just wired its deposits into, JPMorgan Kinexys is bringing JPM Coin there this year. Yeah, two rival megabanks are about to settle against each other on rails neither one of them owns. Let me show you. HSBC's Global Payment Solutions Unit, that's their corporate cash management arm, just completed the first tokenized deposit pilot on a public blockchain. The product is called HSBC TDS, Tokenized Deposit Service. Clients convert fiat deposits into tokens one-to-one, instant transfer, programmable payments, 24/7 settlement. 5 currencies: US dollar, British pound, euro, Hong Kong dollar, and Singapore dollar. That's US, UK, Eurozone, Hong Kong, and Singapore, all in one pilot. What they actually demonstrated was atomic delivery versus payment, cash leg and asset leg settling together or not at all, across HSBC's internal deposit ledger and Canton-based applications. First time HSBC's TDS has ever touched a public network. The quote comes from Manish Kohli, the head of Global Payment Solutions at HSBC. He said, "This work highlights how tokenization is evolving within the banking sector and the infrastructure needed to support it at scale." So why does this matter? Because HSBC isn't some crypto-native startup. They move about $10 trillion a year for their corporate clients. And they just picked a public regulated blockchain run by people they do not technically control for the deposit book. That's not a headline banks usually write. Canton is not a single chain. It's a network of application-specific chains coordinated by something called the Global Synchronizer. Each app chain runs its own state. The synchronizer gives them a common clock so they can settle atomically with each other. As of early April, Canton has over 45 super validators running the Global Synchronizer. DTCC, Broadridge, Visa, NASDAQ, Chainlink, Cumberland, BitGo, Circle. 700,000 transactions a day, roughly $9 trillion in monthly transaction volume. Look, that's more than Visa moves in a month, on a blockchain most retail investors have never heard of. The smart contracts use a language called DAML. DAML enforces atomic delivery versus payment as a single transaction. The cash leg and the asset leg settle together, or neither one settles. No unwind risk. No half-done trade sitting in limbo. And here's the part Ethereum cannot do. Configurable privacy. On Canton, each participant only sees the sub-transactions they are a party to. HSBC's balance sheet never touches a public mempool. JPMorgan's customer data never leaks to a competitor validator. Private to the parties, verifiable to the network. And here is the fact that makes crypto purists lose their minds. Canton explicitly lets you delete historical data for GDPR compliance. That's not a bug, that is an engineering decision. The only way European banks will put real customer data on a blockchain is if that blockchain can legally forget. Canton forgets. Ethereum can't. In March, Digital Asset and JPMorgan's Kinexys unit announced they're bringing JPM Coin USD, JPMD, natively onto Canton. Phased rollout throughout 2026. JPM Coin is JPMorgan's tokenized dollar, the bank deposit token they use internally to move money between their own corporate treasury clients. Already live on Base, now landing on Canton. And then the other shoe. DTCC and Digital Asset are bringing DTC and Fed-eligible U.S. Treasuries on-chain on Canton. Second half of 2026 for the broader rollout. Quick reminder, DTCC holds over $100 trillion in asset inventory. That's not a typo. 100 trillion. It's the plumbing of U.S. security settlement. They are not a small experimental counterparty. So stack the pieces. HSBC wires tokenized deposits into Canton this week. JPMorgan is bringing their deposit token on this year. DTCC is bringing U.S. Treasuries on this year. That means two rival global systemically important banks are about to settle against each other on a public regulated blockchain. Neither one of them built, neither one of them owns, and neither one of them can control. This is the first time in modern banking history that has ever actually been wired up. Not talked about. Wired up. Go read HSBC's release. Count the words simulated. I'll say you the trouble. It shows up 6 times. 6. This is a controlled pilot. No counterparty bank is named. No regulator is cited. There is no production launch date. The release uses the word tokenized deposit service, but very carefully never says this is live on Canton for customers. That doesn't make it fake. It makes it a pilot. And pilots are how institutional tech actually moves. Quietly, with risk controls, long before the headline. But you should know the difference between "we built this and it works" and "we built this and corporate clients are wiring real money through it." The first one is April 13th. The second one is probably late 2026. Here is the other thing crypto media is missing. Yuval Rooz, the CEO of Digital Asset, which builds Canton, got asked by DL News why his blockchain isn't fully permissionless. His answer? Quote, "The world is not permissionless. Even if we wanted it to be permissionless, it's just not." Translation: the institutions running global finance are not going to show up on a blockchain where anyone can validate their settlements. They are going to show up on one that lets them keep the privacy and the compliance and the delete key. Rooz is not apologizing for that. He's saying it out loud. McKinsey has the market size for tokenized cash and deposits specifically at around $1.1 trillion of addressable value by 2030. That's not crypto speculation. That's their global banking practice. Grayscale's research head frames tokenization overall as a $19 trillion wave. ARK Invest has tokenized assets exceeding 11 trillion by 2030. And here is what most coverage missed. HSBC is not starting from zero. They already run a live HKD tokenized deposit service in Hong Kong under HKMA's Ensemble program. First live cross-bank tokenized deposit transfer was 3.8 million Hong Kong dollars for Ant International. HSBC Orion, their digital bond platform, has powered over $3.5 billion in digitally native bond issuances globally. They just won the UK Digit mandate, which is the Bank of England's digital gilt pilot. So when HSBC lands on Canton, it's not an experiment. It is the next layer of a multi-jurisdictional tokenized deposit rollout that is already in production somewhere. Here is the honest read. Most creators covering Canton cover Canton coin price. That is the wrong story. The real story is that a token standard engineered for regulated institutions is quietly becoming the shape of tokenized cash at the biggest banks on earth. HSBC is the proof of concept. JPMorgan is the follower. DTCC is the anchor. And the network tying them together is run by super validators you can count on 2 hands. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Look, the headline is not a Canton coin price chart. It's not a flippening. It's that the deposit book of a $3 trillion global bank just landed on the same public regulated blockchain where the biggest deposit token in the world, JPM Coin, is about to land too. And the people running that blockchain aren't apologizing for the fact that it's not permissionless, because the banks betting their deposits on it were never going to use one that was. If this changed how you think about Canton or tokenized deposits, hit subscribe. Comment which of these 3, HSBC, JPMD on Canton, or the DTCC Treasuries rollout you think actually matters most? Notion link with every source is in the description. See you in the next one.